Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, remember, the Senate will recall that on Wednesday, 8th June 2016, rising on order 41, Senator Theodore Oji, Abia Central, drew the attention of the Senate to a petition from Hyacinth Ahuroye against Nigerian Police Force for alleged wrongful dismissal from the force, and urged the Senate to look into the matter. In line with order 41.3, the Senate referred the matter to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions for the third legislative investigation. I'll take you to observation of findings, because this is a straightforward matter. Item 5.0, observations and findings, on page 5. After going through submissions of both parties, the committee found as follows: that the allegation of forgery, which led to the dismissal of the petitioner from the force, was not confirmed. 2, that the petitioner was dismissed from the police force when he was on his annual leave without any form of notification, but was only informed the day he resumed duty, and then the provost followed him to his house and collected all his official kits. 3, that he was dismissed from the force without a letter of dismissal up to date, after several letters of appeals to the police force, which fell on deaf ears. 4, that after reviewing the case, the police force came into a resolution that the petitioner Hyacinth Ahuroye be restated and retired, that he should apply for his retirement benefits. Mr. President, dear colleagues, having fully heard and considered the submission of the petitioner and responded, the committee recommends that the decision of the Nigerian Police Force to restate the petitioner, retire him, and pay him his retirement benefits be sustained. Thank you, Mr. President, dear colleagues. This is that matter that that the committee did by meeting with the Nigerian Police Force to plead on this matter, and they were able to tell because they almost moved above the age of retirement, so he has been restated and retired, and his benefits to be paid to him. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Again, distinguished colleagues, it's a straightforward matter, and the recommendation here before us that the decision of the Nigerian Police Force to reinstate the petitioner, retire, and pay him his retirement benefits be sustained. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Chairman. Next report.
Thank you, Mr. President, dear colleagues. Once again, the Senate will recall that on Wednesday, 25th May 2016, rising under 41, Senator Mao Ohabunwa Abia North drew the attention of the Senate to a petition from Collins Chinonyerem Udogo against Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation for alleged wrongful dismissal from the corporation, and urged the Senate to look into the matter. In line with order 41.3, the Senate referred the matter to the committee for detailed legislative investigation. I would like us to go to findings and recommendation, Mr. President. Observations and findings. Item 5.0 in page 6. After going through submissions of both parties, the committee found as follows. 1, that several members of the cooperative society petitioned Mrs. Collins C. Udogo and Ibrahim I. Cafe for misappropriation of the cooperative's fund, as well as the sale of the cooperative society acquired land without their mandate. 2, that the Central Disciplinary Committee, which examined the case in line with NDIC staff condition of service, found Mrs. Collins C. Udogo and Ibrahim I. Cafe culpable of gross misconduct and recommended that they be withdrawn from the service of the corporation. 3, that due process was followed in dismissing the DOE for gross misconduct in line with their conditions of service. 4, that following the dismissal, they instituted an action at the National Industrial Court, Abuja, challenging their dismissal, and the court did not restate them, but ordered the corporation to pay them their withheld allowances and wages for the period of suspension. 5, that the NDIC staff condition of service provided that staff on suspension were not to be paid any entitlements, but that the corporation, in the spirit of amicable settlement, as directed by the committee, assented to pay Mr. Collins Udogo his entitlements during the period of suspension. And 6, that based on the committee's directives, both parties met, negotiated, and agreed on the entitlement to be paid to Collins C. Udogo. 7, that total entitlement to be paid to Mr. Collins Udogo was 5,893,812 naira 32 kobo, and that 8, that his request, that was his letter of dismissal, be converted to retirement, was, however, rejected. Recommendation: having fully heard and considered the submissions of the petitioner and respondent, the committee recommends: 1. That the dismissal of Mr. Collins Chinonye Udogo be sustained, since A. His dismissal was the decision of the Board of Corporation and due process was followed, and B. The corporation has agreed to pay Mr. Collins Chinonye Udogo the sum of 5,893,812 naira 32 kobo, being all his withheld allowance and wages for the period of suspension. Mr. President, this matter has been finally concluded, and the petitioner has been asked to collect the money by the corporation. Thank you, Mr. President, and the supervisors.
Distinguished colleagues, again, this is a straightforward report. The recommendation before us is that the dismissal be sustained as dismissal was the decision of the board and due process was followed. As recommendation 1A and recommendation 1B, the corporation has agreed to pay Mr. Collins a sum of 5,893,812 spot 32, being all his withheld allowance and wages. So those in favor that the recommendation be sustained, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Chairman. Ethics and Privileges. A lot of work is being done through your committee, and it's become a point where people can feel they can get some justice and somebody to look into their matter. Keep it up. Chairman, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the ad hoc committee on the Southern Kaduna crisis and other parts of the country. Mr. President, we wish to invite very distinguished Senator Kabir Gaya, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to consider the report of the committee.
Senator Gaya.
Yes, sir. This is interim for the two states. Mr. President, I will appeal to hold my approaches for a while. I'll be standing to present the report. Mr. President, I am Kabiru Gaya, representing the people of Kano South from Kano State. Mr. President, as we have been mandated by the Senate under your leadership, this ad hoc committee was able to visit the mentioned states, some of the few mentioned states, especially Kaduna, Zamfara, and yet we need to go to Benue, Enugu, Abia, Taraba, Nasarawa, Delta, Edo, and Kano. But let me start with the introduction, and I knew because of the mood of the Senate, I will try, because my report is voluminous, I may not read all this report, but I will try to summarize. The interim report on the committee, it was equal, the background was the 8th Senate under leadership of the Senator Bukola Saraki, considered this ad hoc committee on the Southern Kaduna crisis and other parts of the country at a sitting on Tuesday, 10th January 2017. Upon a motion moved by Senator Danjumala from Southern Kaduna, I mandated the ad hoc committee to look into the remote and immediate causes surrounding the crisis in Southern Kaduna. And I don't have a mirror, my mirror. Well, that is the advantage of being disabled temporarily. The Senate, this committee, we went round to the various states. We were in Kaduna for 3 days, and then in Zamfara for 2 days. Our members, 8-member committees. It was a 7-member committee. We are co-opted. Another senator to make it 8-member committee. Mr. President, when we visited Kaduna, started with a meeting of inviting all the service chiefs, all the security chiefs of the state, including the army, police, civil defense, all the rest of security chiefs in the state were invited for a meeting. And we had meeting in the night. They briefed us we had meeting from 8 p.m. up to 2 a.m. in the morning. They briefed us all about the security reports in the state. The following morning, we went to the government house, met the governor, and the governor submitted his report also on all the crises that had happened in Kaduna State from 1991 to 2016. Copies of the reports were laid here previously by Senator Mao, who represented me in laying the report. Also, Mr. President, I'm trying to summarize the following morning after visiting the governor, we tried to go to affected areas, some of the affected areas in Kaduna, especially in the southern Kaduna. We were escorted by the police because of the high security situation in that area. We were in Jama'a in Kagora local government, where we went to the chief's palace, the chief of Kagora, and had a town hall meeting with the members of the southern Kaduna. I believe one of the senator who moved the motion was also there, and from there we got the views of the people and really what they wanted. From there we also went to Goska, which is a town predominantly Christians, where the accident had happened and houses were destroyed. Insurgents came out from the forest and attacked those people in Goska. The next village is Dangoma, and the people from Goska thought that the attack was from the Dangoma village, where there are Muslims in that area. Unfortunately, we were very lucky that there was no fight between the two communities due to intervention by the police. But they realized that people coming in from the bush or from that forest around them and attacked them overnight. So let me just read the recommendation. If you go to page 6 of the report, that the summary, the government of Kaduna State considers several committees and commission inquiries in the past on the crisis in Kaduna State, generally including post-2011 election crisis, where a peace-building committee was established to restore peace to Kaduna State. Unfortunately, most resolutions of the report of these committees or commissions were never implemented. Presently, the state government has started gradually implementing the recommendations in the white paper of the report of the committee constituted to find ways of stamping out attacks on southern Kaduna, which was chaired by retired Martin Luther Agwai, General Retired Martin Luther Agwai. The state government has spent some money in trying to have peace. 29 committees in Kaduna have unveiled a peace apology billboard in Samaru Katab as a peace-building process in the affected area. 32 committees raised non-governmental organizations to rebuild destroyed churches and mosques with the commitment of the state government to assist and unify the state. The state government has strongly resolved to furnish the perpetrators of the crisis as a mandated director of security to investigate, identify, and prosecute them. So recommendation, I have also then from there side, we visited Zamfara State, and we realized that there was a lot of also crisis in Zamfara State, but the state government haven't been reporting the stories to the media. We realized that a lot has gone through in Zamfara State because of these Plenary bandits. We realized that since 2012 to 2016, by the record, it shows that 2014 we have over 216 people killed. 2015 2015, there were over 325 people killed. 2016, 379 people killed, and a lot of kidnap stories. In 20th November 2016, 30 persons were kidnapped, including a police officer in Maikasa village in one of the local governments. 50 women were adopted at Bini village, many of whom were released after sexual harassment and were on younger ones. In 12th December, a total of 716 people were also killed. Over 10,000 houses were destroyed. Over 183 vehicles were burnt down. The state government now set up a committee for reconciliation even with the bandits so that there could be peace in that state. After reconciliation, remember President Buhari was also in Zamfara. That set up a committee or an operation called Operation Harbin Kunama, which was led by President Muhammadu Buhari, and that gave an effect of which the government were able to recover so many ammunitions, AK-47s, rocket launchers, and the people came in to surrender to the state government, and now they are working to maintain peace in that state. Then I should go to intervention by the state government and then recommendation. Zamfara state government promptly dispatched security forces to the affected communities to ensure immediate return to normalcy. Relief materials were given out. But the most important is the state government set up a 33-member assessment and relief committee led by Right Honorable Sunusi Garba Rikiji, who is the Speaker of the Zamfara State Government, as Zamfara State, to investigate the causes and recent attacks on the innocent persons by a known government. After a concrete suggestion on how to address the crisis and provide suitable relief packages to the victims, the government formally presented a copy of the report to National Assembly through this committee and solicited for state budgetary support on 2017 budget consideration to enable the state adequately restore economic situation. I remember the state has spent so much money, just like Kaduna State, they spend so much money on the security, and we assist the government to assist them, the federal government to assist them. The committee's recommendations are on both Kaduna, Zamfara. I will read those clearly so that the members can listen to those reports or recommendations and maybe decide on those recommendations, Mr. President. One, recommendations from Kaduna State, that's page 9 of the report. The Kaduna State government should review, implement, and impose the recommendation of various white papers and reports on the crisis of Kafanchan Peace Declaration by representatives of 29 communities in the affected areas under the coordination and mediation of Center for Humanitarian Dialogues, HD. 2, reports of the Reconciliation Committee on Haiti Crisis. 3, the 2011 Election Violence and Civil Disturbance Report. D, the report of the committee to stamp out attacks on Southern Kaduna communities. The reason why we raise this recommendation is that most of the white papers produced during the last 14 crises in Kaduna State, none of the report has been implemented, so that nobody was punished, no victims were given compensations. So that's why we said the only way out, one of the few ways out, is make sure that these reports are being implemented by the state government. They should bring to book whoever is found wanting and compensate the victims who need compensation. Number 2, the Kaduna State government, in collaboration with the security agencies and relevant bodies, will embrace everybody, irrespective of ethnic, political, and religious leanings or affiliations, and set up a committee to encourage dialogue to peace to reign within Kaduna South and Kaduna State. I think this is very vital because there is kind of communication gap between the government and the community. The people of Southern Kaduna, irrespective of their differences, should equally embrace, support, and cooperate with the state government in its effort to restore peace and normalcy in the area. The religious leaders should advocate for peace and sustain from incitements of people against one another. Here we have problems of religious leaders, both Muslims and Christians, preaching for lack of peace in that area or violence. The politicians should not capitalize on religious and ethnic differences of the people for their personal political gains. This also happens before election or during elections. The state government should strengthen government's own institutions established in southern Kaduna, because there are rumors that the state government is going to close those institutions. I think that also will trigger violence. All law enforcement agencies should be neutral in the enforcement of law and orders in southern Kaduna. The Inspector General of Police should be mindful of posting of officers and personnel to southern Kaduna, and indeed the whole country, to avoid posting of the bulk of officers who are merely indigenous of the particular area. Where we cited this example, there is an instance of over 70 to 80% of the police posted in southern Kaduna are all indigenous of southern Kaduna. So when there are crises in that area, some of the police get involved in this crisis. The federal government should, as a matter of urgency, hasten and establish a proposed army garrison in southern Kaduna to forestall future occurrence of this crisis. The government has promised to do this, and we hope the government will do that as fast as possible. Then the recommendations on Zampara, sir. Zampara State government should, as a matter of urgency and priority, accelerate its initiated program on disarmament, radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration of the youth who have denounced crimes and make adequate compensation to the aggrieved victims for permanent peace to reign in the state. With this process, the Zamfara state government, I have to commend that, the government for at least settling, having peace and reconciling with the bandits, and now they have recovered over 200 AK-47 and some rock launchers and other ammunition. General recommendations, sir, is that the state government, which is on page 10, the state government should collaborate, the state's government should collaborate with traditional political and religious leaders to immediately initiate, monitor, and implement holistic reconciliation strategies through regular and inclusive town hall meetings in order to restore permanent peace in the affected areas. When we are in both Kaduna and Zampara, we had town hall meetings. And with the town hall meetings, we invited all religious leaders, community leaders, tribal leaders, and with that kind of meeting, we were able to achieve some solutions to the problems in those areas. So we're encouraging the state governments at various communities or local governments to hold town hall meetings. The state government should liberate the youth from mental and economic colonization by the elites by embarking on elaborate education and sensitization of the youth on governance and creation of employment opportunities for them. States should consider their peculiarities, look inward and identify their strengths in programs and activities they have, cooperative advantages such as agriculture, manufacturing, mining, waste management, among others, and maximally engage the youth in this program. The state government should synergize with neighboring state governments on protection of the state's territorial borders from unwanted elements, assailants, and criminals in whatever. The federal government should establish relief interventions and warehouses in each state of the operation and make resources available to NEMA and adequately, promptly meet the immediate needs of the affected communities in times of crisis. So it is also important the federal and the state government should review the Constitution, as we are now amending the Constitution, to address the settlers/indigenous dichotomy across the country. Some people who have been there in the state for many years, they are calling them settlers. Those who are there for 50 to 100 years, they are still calling them settlers or non-indigenous. Also, sir, we found that the role of traditional rulers in this event of maintaining peace and stability in the area is very important. So therefore, I'm appealing to the Committee of Constitutional Review to find a role for traditional rulers all over the country in maintaining peace or responsibilities for them. And the issue of the state, they also discuss on the issue of the state police if the federal government cannot be able to maintain peace in the areas. The federal and the state government should review and reimpose the existing laws on illegal acquisition and possession of firearms and ammunition in order to curtail, if not prevent, the proliferation of arms in the country. The federal government should intervene through the special service-wide boards to assist states with security challenges through funding or reimbursement of the huge sums spent on security by those states. The federal government should consider enhanced budgetary allocation for security agencies in the budget to enable them to procure modern technology equipment and embark on holistic research and capacity development required to curb the alarming emerging menace of cattle rustling and armed trade, robbery, and kidnapping. The federal government should, as a matter of urgency, review the bilateral and immigration agreements with the neighboring countries, especially with regards to international grazing routes and the ECOWAS Transhuman Pastoral Protocol, which allows free movement of nomads with their cattle. Then there is a need for restoration, duration of stay for nomads and their cattle, and check for possession of dangerous weapons at every border entry. Where there are some countries within the within the West Africa, that if a nomad is moving into that country, there is always check, they have to have a visa or a need for registration and the time he is going to stay. So this is also very important, sir. Conclusions, sir, the chairman, the committee wishes to particularly state the remote causes of the various crises which have been closed with different names was basically hinged on scrambling for limited land and its inheritance resources against continuous increasing population and the prevalent economic downturn. The crises in the visitor states are viewed as time bomb, capable of escalating and permitting to the other state, if not holistically and nationally addressed. Unfortunately, the idle youth are ever willing to be used to permit deferment and take advantage of the population arms and ammunition in the country. This is inimical to our survival and the nation, and raise a major concern which calls for urgent national action. The time is now. We should try to keep the youth busy, otherwise they will keep the government busy. The committee therefore expresses profound gratitude to the President of the Senate, the leadership, and my distinguished senators who find it worth it to undertake this assignment and assure the Senate of its willingness to complete the assignment to other affected states on resumption from Easter break. The Senate is therefore invited to consider recommendations of the committee. I so thank you, the leadership, and my distinguished colleagues. Thank you very much.
Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues, I would like to start by commending very distinguished Senator Gaya and his committee for the effort they've made and the report they presented today. Senate President, very distinguished colleagues, I consider this a very serious matter, very, very serious. And I believe that this Senate must accord this issue the seriousness it deserves. The committee on their own identified 10 states to visit, but I believe that the crises and the killings exist in more than 10 states. Today, we just told about what happened in Lagos State. So I believe that the report needs to be deeper than this. The recommendations need to reflect more of the seriousness of this matter. I understand clearly that the chairman of this committee had a domestic accident some few weeks ago.
It's not domestic, sir.
Well, and that's why he's carrying a walking stick. So I think he needs more time to do more work on this so that we'll be able to show the whole world that this Senate is serious about this matter. In the fourth Senate, Mr. President, matters such as this came up, and a high-powered committee was set up under the able leadership of very distinguished Senator Okadibo, means God bless his soul. And it came up with very far-reaching recommendation. I think this committee needs to go back and study that report as well. Looking at the recommendations, sir, I think some of them, as I said, does not reflect the seriousness of this matter. To say that we have to use money from service-wide votes to address this matter shows our misunderstanding of the concept of service-wide vote. Service-wide vote is not a slush fund. It's tied to specifics. And then the issue of the settlers and indigenes, again, has been addressed extensively by the Constitution under Section 42, that this with the non-discrimination. But we in the Committee on the Constitutional Review are prepared to even make more recommendations if that comes to that. But I think that this is more serious, to Today, we are talking about the proliferation of arms. We have a whistleblowers policy in Nigeria. I think that policy should be directed more on the issue of those keeping those arms. We are told that some arms were intercepted at our borders by the customs. Till now, we have not been told who owns those arms. Because somebody imported those arms and it's coming from somewhere. It is easy to ask the manufacturers who order for these arms. Today, we have not been told. So I think that this thing is very serious. We cannot sit by and watch our countrymen and women being killed every day. Life has lost its value in this country. In Benue, people are killed every day in their numbers. In Enugu, in Zamfara, in Kano, in Kaduna, everywhere. And lately in Lagos, even in Calabar. So I think that this matter is serious enough that this committee needs to go back and do more work and come up with more concrete recommendations so that the country and indeed our inhabitants, our citizens, we know that we are serious about this issue.
Senator Gamadi.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Barnabas Gamade. I represent Benue Northeast Senatorial District. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, in tune with the presentation of the last speaker, the Honorable Distinguished DSP, I rise to also make observations on the interim report of this high-powered committee on problems of southern Kaduna and indeed all the other parts of the country where we have experienced these terrible incidences of disturbance, killings, maiming, stealing that has been going on for a number of years now. Mr. President, I am totally in agreement with the fact that even though this is an interim report, it's very obvious that quite a lot of work that needed to have done to bring this report to a level that we actually establish the seriousness of this problem has not yet been done. Certainly the timing involved and maybe even the number of people engaged in the ad hoc committee may have been constrained on dealing decisively with all the aspects of this problem in all the locations of the country where these things have happened. Two previous works, as represented by DSP, what Chuba Kadigo of blessed memory did in a committee, and what in the 7th Senate, a joint committee of 4 committees that did, following my motion on the herdsmen killings in many parts of the country, are documents that are available to Senate because they have been laid and it has become documents of the Senate. They do contain very, very far-reaching findings, observations, and recommendations that need to be collated all together to ensure that we come up with a very, very sound report. There are indeed many different aspects of the problem of insurgency and disturbance in these areas. There is the aspects of cattle rustling, which is purely criminality of thieves that are engaging those who own cows, stealing them, killing them, and doing all that sort. And there is the other aspect of nomads straying into farmlands and causing upheaval, causing disturbance to the people, and actually confronting them with different kinds of criminal activity. And thirdly, there is suspected issue of consistent attack which have undertones of tribal, religious, and other forms of discrimination in the minds of the people. I believe these things have to be looked at very carefully. The recommendation that came in on a general basis talking about re-establishing cattle routes and making sure that nomads are properly documented and given passage to move around and so on. we must look at the fundamental requirements of our nationhood. Where is that law that provided free assets of nomads in West Africa to go wherever they like, however they like, in whatever form and shape they like, and do whatever they like? These are issues that we must deal with. And I think we must come to a point where we are in total agreement of what is good for everybody. Those who are affected today, those who were affected yesterday, and probably those who will be affected in the future. And I think we must look at these things holistically. Europe, for example, is compartmentalized in different countries with what they call Eurozone. And you don't need a visa to move from one country to the other. But at the same time, there is strict control of movements between countries. Here, we don't have any control whatsoever of movement between countries. When we talk about these things, it looks as if maybe some certain group of people are targeted because they are nomads. But that is not the issue. The issue here must be that we must track genuine, normal citizens of this region that are going about peacefully and doing their business. And we must isolate them from the criminals who are also tagging along to provide criminality avenues to deal with the innocent people in these various locations. So we need to look at the fundamentals of this matter, and I believe that this committee will certainly have an enormous amount of work to do, for which I recommend that this being an interim report should be noted, and committee directed to, in fact, move speedily and more rigorously to ensure that all the locations affected are visited, some of which places the killings are going on as I speak. They have not stopped. Like in Benue, no month goes without a terrible upheaval somewhere or the other. And it's a very serious matter. I believe that we need to look at this more critically and more seriously, while commending the committee for the work they have done so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gamade. I think the thoughts, the reports, it's an interim report, and I think that there are many other parts of the country that we wanted to be able to find out the status of the situation that we just report has not covered. So I think if I can conclude that the view of majority of the colleagues is to note this report, ask them to go back and give us, address the other parts of the country that are not here, and more specific recommendation. The seriousness of the matter deserves that kind of in-depth, detailed recommendations and direction. I mean, if that is the mood, I will conclude that we now ask the committee to go back, and we know the interim, go back and look at the other parts, and also address some of the observation made with coming to specific recommendation, and then bring back a final report. All right, thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Chairman.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the second reading of the Local Government Act Repeal, Bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 9 November 2016. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Peter Wabushi to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Peter Wabushi.
The bill, Mr. President, is
distinguished colleagues, my names are Senator Peter Mwoboshi, representing the good people of Anioma of Delta North of Delta State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on the general principles of the bill for an act to repeal the Local Government Act number 8 of 1976. The bill was read for the first time on Wednesday, the 9th day of November 2016. Distinguished colleagues, this bill seeks to outrightly abrogate the Local Government Act number 8 of 1976 as it has no place, or rather lacks the requisite recognitions under the present democratic dispensation. Distinguished colleagues, in summary, the major objectives of this bill are: 1, to repeal the act for being inconsistent. To repeal the act for being inconsistent with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended. 2, to engender steady reform of local government administration in Nigeria. 3, to ameliorate the hardship occasioned by certain provisions of the Act. And finally, to lay to rest an act that has outlived its usefulness. Distinguished colleagues, it is pertinent to trace the origin of the Act. Prior to the emergence of the Act in 1976, several reforms have taken place in a bid to revolutionize local government administration in Nigeria, with a view to correcting the anomalies in the local government system inherited from the colonial administration. The reform that ushered in the Act came during the administration of General Murtala Mohammed and General Olusegun Obasanjo in 1976. The Act assigned far-reaching functions to the local governments, as well as giving autonomy to the local government councils. The Second Republic, under the then President Shehu Shagari, ran the local governments under caretaker committees as elections were not held, thus underlining the Act. Distinguished colleagues, in essence, the Act was promulgated by the military administration in 1976 as it was suitable in that era. The Act has no place under the present democratic dispensation. For instance, Part 8 of the Act provides for establishment of emirates and traditional councils consisting of traditional rulers with functions under Section 64 A to I, including A, to promulgate general proposals as advised to local government or to local government councils in the area. B, where applicable, to harmonize the activities of such local governments through discussions of problems affecting generally, and by giving advice and guidance thereon to such local governments. And C, where requested by the military governor, or as the case may require, by some or all local government councils in the areas, to assist in the assessment of community tax in consultation with such local governments in the area and its subsequent collection, and so on and so forth. Distinguished colleagues, it is definitely alien to the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, which did not recognize the Act as Section 7.1 provides that the system of local government
the system of local government by democratically elected local government council is under this constitution guaranteed. The local government councils, it went further by placing local government councils under the control of the states with the power to enact laws regulating local government administration. The first schedule to the said constitution listed the local government areas under states in the country, while the fourth schedule specified the functions of the local government councils. The 1999 constitution, therefore, overrides Local Government Act of 1976 for being inconsistent with its provisions. Distinguished colleagues, the repeal of the Act will also assuage the Nigerians who are denied fair hearing by the provisions of Section 123 of the Act of Limitation of Suits against local government. It requires an aggrieved person to institute a suit against local government within 6 months next after the act, neglect of the fourth complaint, or in the case of continuance of damage or injury within the season thereof. This is quite onerous. Technical cognizance, the requirements of issuance of at least 1 month notice of intention to commence a suit. In practical terms, litigants are caught up with the time limit, thus denying them fair hearing and justice, as the provision of the Act is deployed in that regard. Distinguished colleagues, the Act has definitely outlived its usefulness. It's entirely consistent with 1999 Constitution as amended, which guaranteed democratically elected local government councils and should therefore be repealed and jettisoned. I therefore urge you, distinguished colleagues, to support the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Senator Aliru. Yes, I've recognized you.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Mohammed Adamu Aliru, representing KB Central. Mr. President, I have a constitutional point of order. With your permission,
go ahead.
I want to read.
Jordan.
Section 7 of the Constitution, Mr. President. The system of local government by democratically elected local government council is under this Constitution guaranteed. And accordingly, the government of every state shall, subject to Section 8 of this Constitution, ensure the existence under a law which provides for the establishment, structure, composition, finance, and function of the council. Mr. President, this section further goes to say that the government of a state shall ensure that every person who is entitled to vote or be voted for at an election to a House of Assembly shall have the right to vote or be voted for at an election to a local government council. Mr. President, the repeal my distinguished colleague is asking for, is advocating for, is contrary to the provision of this Constitution. Because he is assigning a different role to local government councils other than the ones stated in the Constitution. And I believe this Senate should not do anything that will go contrary to the provision of the Constitution. So it is my belief that this repeal should not be allowed to proceed. Thank you.
Senator Olujimi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Biodun Olujimi, Ekiti South. Considering what Senator Aliero just said, and looking at this document, I believe the best thing to do right now is to forward this to the Constitution Review Committee so that they can take a look at it, since we cannot honestly handle anything that has to do with local government except through the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Deputy Senate President.
Well, thank you, sir. I've listened to the views of my colleagues, but just to give us a little background on the local government law. Prior to 1976, we ran different types of local government administration. The North had their own system, different from the South. So in 1976, there was a unification policy, and that what led to the promulgation of the decree at the time. So, but it was a law that came to an abrupt end with the promulgation of the 1979 Constitution, where first of all, Section 7, which we have now, was first introduced. And then in 1999, that same Section 7 was further copied into the 1999 Constitution. And with the effect, from 1979, that act ceased to exist in the first place. So today, that's why each state now have their own local government law, or law governing the administration of local government. So the law itself is no more in existence, but the operation of both the 1979 and 1999 Constitution. So if we desire to send it to the constitutional amendment, fine, but I believe that there's nothing actually to repeal, because there's nothing existing now known as local government law, and no point cites it anywhere.
Distinguished colleagues, I think from the contribution so far, the view is that maybe this matter should be sent to the Constitutional Review Committee to okay, we'll put your questions. Those in favor that this bill be read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. Nays have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President. Mr. President, before I read the next, let me just appeal to our colleagues. The next three items, just listen. The next three items are simply bills for second reading to legalize already existing institutions. So we don't need to spend any time on them. And I'll appeal that today being the last day, before we go on Easter recess, let's do some justice to this if we can. Mr. President, thank you very much in advance. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is second reading of Federal University of Education, Zaria, Bill 2007. Distinguished senators will record that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 8th December 2016. Mr. President, we wish to invite very distinguished Senator Jibrin Barau to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Jibrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Barau Jibrin, I represent Kaduna North. Mr. President, this bill is the last of 4 bills for the upgrading of our oldest pioneer colleges of education. The 3 have passed already, remaining only this one. And the lead debate is just like the ones that were dealt with initially. If you permit me, I will quickly read through, or if you feel I don't even need to read it, it's just the same thing, sir. It's just the same thing. It's the same thing that was read for Ondo, the same thing for FC Ikano, the same thing for Alva Ikoku, the same thing. The same thing, sir.
Samayao.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, my name is Senator Sam Anyanwu. I represent Imo East in Imo State. Mr. President, I rise to second this bill because, just like the sponsor of this bill has said, all the 4 institutions that have been passed already are the same thing, the same structure, the same bill. So I think what we should do, instead of wasting our time, because this is the end of today's session, we want to go and relax and enjoy ourselves. I want that this move.
No, we are working for Nigeria.
Distinguished colleagues, anyway, this, I just think that this doesn't need it. I mean, since it's a bill, doesn't need any secondary. So I just put the question. Those in favor that the bill read the second time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is referred to Clerk of the Senate. Clerk of
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Zaria, and for other matters connected therewith, 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Zaria, and for other matters connected therewith, 2017, second reading taken. This bill is referred to Committee on Tertiary Institutions and third for and report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the eighth order of the day is the second reading of the Nigeria Arabic Language Village in Gala, Establishment Bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 30th November 2016. Mr. President, you wish to invite very distinguished Senator Babaka Bashir Garbay to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Babaka Garbay.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Babaka Bashir Garbay. I represent Borno Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate of this important bill which seeks to give legal backing to the establishment of the Nigerian Arabic Language Village in Gala. The bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday, 30th November 2016. The Nigerian Arabic Language Village was established in 1991 with a vision to empower all persons irrespective of age, culture, creed, or sex with appropriate communication skills in the effective use of Arabic language at both professional and interpersonal levels, and a mission to develop as an outstanding center of excellence for the study, research, and development of Arabic using skilled and innovative personnel and applying appropriate modern technology and teaching methodology to foster a culture of transnational bilingualism for nation building, regional integration, as well as international cooperation and understanding. The Nigerian Arabic Language Village is an inter-university center for Arabic language studies located along the Borno State Ngala Expressway about 5 kilometers to Cameroon. The institution, which is operating under the ambit of the National Universities Commission, was established by the federal government as a result of the economic and political imperative of finding a domestic alternative to the statutory Arabic one-year abroad program hitherto held either in Egypt, in North Africa, or in one of the Arabic countries in the sub-region. The economic downturn of the 80s, coupled with the devaluation of the national currency, had made students' participation in the year abroad program extremely expensive and unbearable to parents and sponsors. This is much so now. Neither the government nor the parents could adequately source for foreign exchange to keep the students abroad for one academic year. The effect of this predicament to Arabic studies in Nigeria was most damaging. In the face of these difficulties, the government, being convinced of the need to encourage the study of Arabic in Nigeria, set up various committees to find an acceptable and efficient alternative to the Arabic Year Abroad program, which led to the establishment of the Nigeria Arabic Language Village in 1991. A strategic factor in the establishment of the village in Gala is the fact that Shua Arab is the dominant language in the area. The local governments of Gala, where the school is located, and neighboring Kalabalge share a common border with northern Cameroon and by extension the Republic of Chad, all of whom are Shua Arab-speaking communities. This will impact positively on the proficiency of the students and participants as it will enhance their fluency in spoken Arabic. The village provides the mandatory year-long language immersion program for all undergraduates of Arabic languages studies in Nigerian universities and 3 months for colleges of education. In addition to the above, the village has been an active teaching/learning center for the study of Arabic to all Nigerians regardless of age and status. The administrative activities in the village took off in May 1991. The village premises was officially handed over to the then Ministry of Education in the same year. The village received the first set of students for the academic year on the 6th of January 1995. The programs include the mandatory Arabic language program for 300 level of university Arabic students and program for 200 levels colleges of education students, including private colleges of education. It also offers pre-diploma program, diploma full-time and part-time programs respectively, as well as proficiency certificate programs, special intensive programs for individuals, professionals and corporate bodies, and holiday camps for secondary school students. Over the years, it had trained over 40,000 students from 6 universities and over 40 colleges of education, including private colleges of education, and hundreds of other categories of Nigerian learners. The village has also organized workshops and refresher courses for about 561 teachers across the Federation, as well as hundreds of personnel from ministries, parastatals, and private companies. Apart from the fact that students who undergo their language course in the Arabic village exhibit clearly high levels of competence in Arabic language after their program compared to few who still travel out of the country for the same program. The establishment of the Arabic village has saved the nation millions of dollars in forex. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, with so much achievement recorded within the 26 years of its existence, the Nigeria Arabic language village needs a legal instrument to continue providing the very successful immersion program for Nigerian universities, colleges of education, and the general public, to carry out legally binding transactions both locally and internationally, to allow the institution to collaborate with other international organizations and also attract funding from international donor agencies, to make it an autonomous legal entity operating within the laws of the Federation, to increase confidence and trust in the stakeholders, including universities, the colleges of education, and other users of the institution. The village has been actively involved in teaching, research, publication, and documentation. It has also served as a think tank or consultant to government as well as interested individuals and bodies on issues relating to Arabic as a teaching subject and as a medium of transnational and transcultural communication for business, interpersonal relationships, and professional needs. In line with Order 77, subsection 3 of the Senate Standing Rule 2015, this bill will come at no extra cost to the government since it is an existing institution and is duly captured in government expenditure year in, year out since establishment in 1991. I therefore urge my distinguished colleagues to support this bill and give this village an enabling act. Thank you.
Senator Gubri.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. I rise to give total support to this bill because the institution has been existing for about 26 years. I remember in 2003 I was at this institution. I met a lot of people from the southwestern Nigeria, from northern Nigeria. They are being educated well, things are moving very fine, and instead of sending people abroad to go and learn Arabic, it's better we send them there so that they can learn it at a cheaper price. So I think it's very important, it's a straightforward, Your Excellency. So I want a speedy passage for this bill. It's a straightforward bill, Your Excellency.
All right, colleagues, let me put the question. Those in favor that the bill be read second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Arabic Language Village, Ungala, and for other related matters 2017
second reading.
A bill for an act to establish Nigerian Arabic language village in Gala and for other related matters 2017, second reading taken. Bill is referred to Committee of Tertiary Institution and third form back in 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
This is the last of Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues. This is the last. The ninth order of the day is second reading of the Nigeria French Language Village Badagry Establishment ETC Bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 30th November 2016. Mr. President, we wish to invite very distinguished Senator Olubenga Ashafa to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Ashafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Permit me to lead the debate on the Nigeria French Language Village Bill 2016 SB 387. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on this important bill which seeks to give a legal backing to the establishment of the French Language Village, Badagry. The bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday, 30th November 2016. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday, 30th November 2016. The Nigeria French Language Village was established in 1991. Its vision is to empower all persons irrespective of age, culture, creed, or sex with appropriate communication skills in the effective use of French language at both professional and interpersonal levels. Its mission is to develop an outstanding center of excellence for the study, research, and development of French using skilled and innovative personnel and applying appropriate modern technology. This is in order to foster a culture of transnational bilingualism for nation building, regional integration, as well as international cooperation and understanding. The Nigerian French Language Village is an inter-university center for French language studies located along Lagos-Badagry Expressway, about 15 kilometers to Seme-Border. The institution, which is operating under the ambit of the National Universities Commission, was established by the federal government as a result of the economic and political imperative of finding a domestic alternative to the statutory French year abroad program, either in France or in one of the Francophone countries.
Distinguished colleagues, there's too much noise, please. Yeah, go ahead.
The institution, which is operating under the ambit of the National Universities Commission, was established by the federal government as a result of the economic and political imperative of finding a domestic alternative to the statutory French year abroad program, either in France or in one of the Francophone countries in the West African sub-region. The economic downturn of the 80s coupled with the devaluation of the national currency, had made students' participation in the year program extremely expensive and unbearable to parents and sponsors. Neither the government nor the parents could adequately source for foreign exchange to keep the students abroad for one academic year. The effect of this predicament to French studies in Nigeria was most damaging. In the face of these difficulties, government, being convinced of the need to encourage the study of French in Nigeria, set up various committees to find an acceptable and efficient alternative to the French Year Abroad program, which led to the establishment of the Nigeria French Language Village in 1991. The village provides the mandatory year-long language immersion program for all graduates of French language studies in Nigerian universities and colleges of education. In addition to the above, the village has been an active teaching, learning, immersion, and acculturation center for the study of French to all Nigerians regardless of age and status. The administrative activities in the village took off in May 1991. The village premise was officially handed over to the then Minister of Education on the 16th December 1991. The village received the first set of students for the academic year on the 6th of January 1992. Over the years, it had trained over 60,000 students from more than 30 universities, 35 colleges of education, and thousands of other categories of Nigerian learners. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, with so much achievement recorded within the 26 years of its existence, the Nigerian French Language Village needs a legal instrument to, one, continue providing the very successful immersion program for Nigerian universities, colleges of education, and the general public. Two, to carry out legally binding transactions both locally and internationally. Three, to allow the institution to collaborate with other international organizations and also attract funding from international donor agencies. Four, to make it an autonomous legal entity operating within the laws of the Federation. Five, to increase confidence and trust in the stakeholders, including universities, the colleges of education, and other users of the institution. The village has been actively involved in teaching, research, publications, and documentation. It has also served as a think tank or consultant to government as well as interested individuals and bodies on issues relating to French as a teaching subject and as a medium of transnational and transcultural communication for business, interpersonal relationships, and professional needs. In line with Order 77.3 of the Senate Standing Order 2015, this bill will come at no extra cost to the government since it is an existing institution and is duly captured in government expenditure year in, year out since its establishment in 1991. I therefore urge my distinguished colleagues to support this bill and give the village an enabling act. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Dino Melai.
Mr. President, my very respected colleagues, Dino Melaye, Kogi West. Mr. President, this is a very important bill, and this bill definitely has got the same spirit with the bill moved by Senator Kaka. Mr. President, we must promote this bill so that instead of using dollars to travel to France to study how to speak French, we will do that here in Nigeria. And I personally want to advise the President of the Nigerian Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, to please try and attend the school. Because Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, in his bid to become the Secretary General of the United Nations, failed because he spoke only, or he speaks only one Nigerian language. He lost to Brutus Galiden, who is speaking 5 international languages. So, Mr. President, I recommend that you enroll as a student of this institution and promote this bill. Please put the question.
Did you check whether I can speak the French already before you? Let me put the question. Those in favor that this bill be read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish Nigerian French language village Badagry and for other related matters, 2017, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish Nigerian French language village Badagry and for other related matters, 2017, second reading taken. This bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions at TEDFON, report back in 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, because some of our committees would have to go to harmonize the budget and the Appropriations Committee's meeting as well, I will therefore move that we stand down the 10th to the 15th order of the day till another legislative day. And I appeal to my colleagues whose bills are here that please, we need your understanding. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion moved by the leader that we stand down the other items on the order paper to the next legislative day.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we stand down the other items on the other paper so that some of the committees can continue to work appropriation on the compilation of the 2017 budget. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I hereby move that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, 25th April 2017 at 10 a.m. prompt. 25th.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion moved by the leader that this Senate do adjourn to Tuesday, 25th day of April at 10 a.m. prompt. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, before I just put that motion, just to remind you that the Appropriation Committee is still working on compiling all reports with the Secretariat over during this period so that those who still have areas that you might need to be called upon by the Appropriation Committee, the Appropriation Committee and the Secretariat have given the assurance that they will finish the submission and have the compilation ready. And so those committees might be called upon at any time for interaction with the Appropriation Committee during this period. I now put the question, those in favor that the Senate is hereby adjourned to Tuesday, 25th of April, 2017 at 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is accordingly adjourned to Tuesday, 25th, 2017, 10 a.m. prompt.